To our final video for exercise 9C and using Finance Solver to make calculations with reducing balance loans. In this third example, sorry, I've jumped ahead a slide there. In this third example, we're going to be looking at what happens with reducing balance loans when conditions change. So speaking generally, a lot of times a reducing balance loan, which might be being paid off over a really long period of time, something can kind of change halfway through. So common examples would be that interest rates will either increase or decrease. You kind of hear about that on the news all the time, about interest rates increasing. Or maybe a borrower would decide to adjust their monthly payments. Maybe they're realizing that they can afford to pay a little bit more each month, or that they're struggling to make the payments, so they reduce their monthly payment. It might be that they decide, well, actually they want to have their loan paid off a bit quicker, so they want to adjust things with their payment. So there's lots of different things that can change throughout the course of a loan. And in those questions, we kind of have to use Finance Solver in multiple steps. So let's have a look at how that can work. All right, so example C3, Jack is borrowing $45,000 at an interest rate of 5.4% per annum, compounding monthly to buy a new car. He makes monthly repayments of $650. And the first part of this question says how much is remaining on his loan after the first 2 years. So this is a more standard question, similar to what we've been doing. So let's put the values in. His PV, the initial amount borrowed, is $45,000, positive number because that's coming from the bank to Jack. The interest rate is 5.4%. Compounding monthly, he's making monthly payments, so that's a 12 as well. Of $650. Remember, that money's going to the bank, those monthly payments, so it's negative $650 as a payment. And the question says, how much is remaining after 2 years? Well, 2 years of monthly payments would be 24 payments. It's because 2 times 12 is 24. And the future value is the thing that we're trying to calculate. So the future value of this loan is negative $33,685. In other words, he will still owe after 2 years that amount, $33,600 approximately. So let's put down our answer. Again, on your notes, make sure you write down the Finance Solver entries so that if you're looking at this in the middle of a SAC or in the middle of exam, your notes are actually useful to you because you'll remember how you got these answers. And as we said, the future value, or the amount owing after 2 years, is $33,685.42 if we round that to 2 decimal places. Okay. Next part of the question, and this is where the condition changes, says after the first 2 years, so once we've got to this point, Jack decides that he wants to have paid off the loan completely in 4 more years. So in a further 4 years, he wants the loan to be paid off completely. What will be his new monthly repayment? Okay, so obviously he's going to have to adjust his repayment to make sure that it's paid off in exactly 4 more years. So this is a situation where we kind of have to flip things around a little bit. So first thing that we might do is say, well, N is going to be in another 4 years. That's going to be 4 more lots of 12 payments because it's monthly payments. So 4 times 12 gives us 48. The interest rate isn't changing. The principal value is going to change because we're now kind of imagining that if we almost like restart this situation, well, he's not owing $45,000 anymore. What he's owing is the $33,685. So we put that value in, the $33,685.42. But because that's now the principal value, we're thinking of that as like the amount we've got borrowed, and that becomes a positive number. So it's a little bit confusing there, but when we do this in stages and a future value becomes a present value, the sign actually changes. So when we thought of it as a future value in part A, it was negative, but now that it's a principal value, it's a positive number. Okay, the payment is going to change. That's the thing we're trying to work out, so we're going to leave that blank. The future value, well, we're saying that in 4 years, after these 48 payments, we want the future value to be 0, so FV will be 0. All right, so we've got everything we need in there except for one number. We push that button, and the payment that comes out is $781.87. Okay, so he's going to have to increase his monthly repayment a little bit to get this loan completely paid off. Again, that's just a way of recording the entries for the benefit of your own notes. But the answer to the question is that the monthly repayment is $781.87. Okay, so he's had to increase his payment by about $130 in order to get it paid off in this extra 4 years. So again, the idea here is that when you have to make calculations where conditions change, okay, we do it in 2 steps. It's kind of a 2-step process using Finance Solver.